I'm live. Okay. I have to drive 100 miles round trip to go check on my plants. Be a lot of fun. Okay, let's switch this around here. You guys better see my face. Gotta get to drive on Black Friday amongst all the traffic. Gotta love the holiday season in Florida. Hello. Whoever has joined, you're the first person to come. And hopefully many more. I find that this is the best time of day to kind of... What's happening, Tyler? I am driving from Venice to Cape Coral to check on my plants. I have a lot of seedlings that... Just making sure my neighbor got them all. He's a really nice guy, but he doesn't know a lot about plants. I think he's doing a good job, but I want to make sure. I just want to... If they dry out and die, then I'm, it's a couple $1,000 for the plants just in one little spot. I don't want to lose them because it's the first time I've been able to get a hold of them. So yeah, and I've got nothing else to do tonight because I'm staying at my sister's, but she has a wedding to go to tomorrow, and she's at they have their little party thing, and Ashley, my girlfriend, is in Orlando with her family. So, and yeah, I don't really, everyone else is kind of doing something, either shopping or whatever it may be, which I may do a little shopping myself out of boredom. But I enjoy talking to you guys on here, and it's like a little, group chat about palms. So, do I do a lot with succulents? Yes, I do. I don't like focus on any one succulent, but I will, I'll grow, let's see, give you an example. There's some, I've grown anything from dragon fruit to, variegated cactus to, big opuntias, like the big paddle leaf, they call them the beaver tail ones. They're, huge. The problem with a lot of succulents is that they like good drainage, so a lot of them can't really go in the ground here unless you really find, I don't really have... The grading on the property is very, there is no grading, essentially. So all the plants I put in the ground on that property have to at some point. So I don't know what something was vibrating in the car. I don't know. It might have been my headset. But so we're going back south on 41. And I uploaded a video today that was about coconuts and where they grow around the world. And I drove around Venice, right around where my sister lives. And I saw maybe a half dozen to a dozen coconuts where I could drive around the block in Cape Coral and see that many. So that's when we drive, and when I do this live thing and we drive the distance that we do, that's kind of the difference between coconuts being 100% fine to being 50% fine. So, and I'm actually going the slow route, so which is on it's less miles, but the interstate's faster. This thing doesn't get good gas mileage on the interstate because in order to go there fast, you got to go 80, and I get 18 miles to the gallon going 80 miles an hour. So anyway, that's not important. But so we are approaching beginning in North. Actually, we're in Northport technically. So Tyler, what zone are you in? Okay, AB Dallas. Can you tell me what town you're in? Actually, I'm curious. because that sounds like the warmer part of Dallas, like the south side, like near Mansfield, that area. Is that kind of the area you're in? I don't know all the counties in the Dallas Fort Worth area, but I have a friend who grows plants in Mansfield. I think he lives in Arlington though. That's a huge. Dallas has become quite a large city. I mean, not that I've actually never been to Dallas. Actually, have I been to Dallas? I think I was in Dallas for a layover. Yeah, no, that's fine. I've heard of Crowley. So you're probably familiar with Mansfield, which is kind of, just south of there, or what, you're east of there, I believe. But he does a lot of big plants, and so he and I do a lot of business together. I would say that, Dallas is one of those towns, kind of like Atlanta. Well, except for it's slightly warmer in Dallas, where the south side of town and the north side of town can grow two different types of plants. And it seems, from what I've seen, downtown obviously is going to be like the south end because of the urban heat effect. So, but I've seen, there's a guy also named Tony Cerbone. He does a lot of, he lives in, I don't know what town he's in the Dallas area, but his yard is covered in Washingtonias and Trachees and Buteas, and he's been doing it for a long time too. He's like the first guy I knew in Dallas that group, Palms, and he does like a blog. I mean, he used to. I see him travel around the world now, so I don't know if you know Tony in Dallas, but he seems to be a nice guy. So, but some other, what I've been trying to do actually, and this is one thing that I've thought about, I was going to make a vlog about reasons I may want to leave Florida, which to many of you may seem crazy because of all of, how much I love plants, and so it gives you more of an idea of just there are many aspects of Florida that are really hard to live with, and mixed results of robustas. I'm guessing Falifera does okay there though. But yeah, I've considered many times the idea of leaving Florida, not for somewhere like too cold to grow plants, but just like the deep south, anywhere from like South Georgia into New Orleans area, or Texas. I probably wouldn't go any further west than like the Houston, Dallas area, possibly all the way up into North Carolina. I know a lot of people in the area. I kind of grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and a lot of my friends are kind of scattered throughout the South now. So, moved from Florida to Virginia, the worst. Well, yeah, it's hard when you grow up in one place and live in another at a later time. The grass always seems greener on the other side. It looks like we're having a traffic issue here. This is not good because Northport's a big city. But, I lived in, you guys, you can Google my name, but Tricky Zone Winters. The wet winters, that can be hard. With the wet winters, I would try some of the Camandurias. Camanduria microspadics, Camanduria radicalis. Those, I don't know if you already tried them, but those are extremely cold hardy. I mean, extremely. They will probably be just fine in your climate. I've seen them I've heard of them. I haven't seen it in person, but I haven't been there when it's been 18 degrees with no damage. But those Camandurias are very cold hardy. So, but it's just really hard when there are just a lot of aspects, like for example, it's been really hot for 6 months, and okay, so yeah, I'll spell out Camanduria, Chamaedorea, and the species in the Camanduria is microspadics, so like micro, and then SPAD. Okay, so microspadics, MICROSPADIX, and then radicalis is RADICALIS. So I hope that was. You can always rewatch the video, but it's they're both extremely cold hardy. They're probably the cold hardiest crown shafted palms in the world. They're technically crown shafted. They're not thick trunked plants, but they're understory plants that, although radicalis can take full sun, and so it's like, to me, radicalis is one of the most durable. It is the most durable crown shafted palm, and I would say that for sure. Microspadics doesn't take full sun. It's a little bit daintier. It seems to like a little bit more water, but a wet winter will not affect it. I don't think that snow will affect it. If it does, you can cover them. They don't get very tall. I'm barely making these lights here, jeez. All right. So, those are some really cold hardy. A lot of Chamaedoreas are, and I'm trying to think of some other species of Chamaedorea that they're related to the bamboo palm, and a lot of those understory species grow in cloud forests, which are basically like mid-elevation forests in Mexico that don't really see the sun very much because it's always covered like a mist and it kind of just drizzles. So it's interesting how that is the way it is. So yeah, as you can see, one thing about Florida, you can see the construction here. Yeah, it's always, for some reason it's very humid there all the time, but you can grow them indoors, and the only thing that they really suffer from is like spider mites. So if you can spray for spider mites, they'll take the indoor temperatures. So even though they grow in a humid area, like it's kind of like 65 to 75 and humid, all in just like, chilly and humid. I mean, chilly because, when it's drizzling in 65, it isn't really the same thing as being sunny in 65, but a human being would eventually get hypothermia there because it's not really that warm. But it doesn't ever really get cold. It might get down to like in, the 40s. So it's an interesting climate, a lot like the way Howea grows, the Kentia palm, and makes a great indoor palm. So these have to grow in a similar climate, just not on an island, just in the mountains of central South Mexico. I forget what province. Yeah, so I mean, that's one thing I've never really like touched on because I don't have a lot of friends that actually have the plants around here. I don't think I've ever done a vlog on those Chamaedoreas. I don't think I've ever done a vlog on a Chamaedorea. Have I? They're really underrepresented because you can like plant a lot of them in a small area. And like I said, they're just very tough plants. I mean, I had some Chamaedoreas that, yeah, let me see what I can find as far as people that have Chamaedoreas in their yard, and then I can just vlog them. That I don't have any shade in my yard, so I don't have any really even growing, because I mean, even though radicalis will take full sun, they just look a little bit better in the shade, and most Chamaedoreas like full shade, but some are a little cold sensitive, but those are the ones that kind of are native to like the lowlands in Central America, but a lot of them, from Mexico up in the mountains there, they're very, very cold hardy. So, but so now we're kind of in like the middle of not down. I mean, there's no downtown Northport, but one thing I was mentioning was the construction here. It's just Florida's always under construction. It has been for like the past 100 years, and people come down to retire. There's more things get built, more traffic, more strip malls. The sense of community is just like not really there that I wish that was here. No one really know, even though everyone lives nearby each other, they don't really, there's no like feeling of community in these towns, especially the ones that were kind of like mass built, like Northport, Cape Coral. So you kind of have to, but it gives a lot of people an opportunity to come down from where they are and start a new, I don't want to say new lease on life, but a new opportunity to do something. Florida's great for like small business, and so that's one thing it's got going for it. But that's not why you guys decided to listen to this vlog, is me talk about Florida's business opportunities. One question I do get a lot is, I don't know if I've answered this in a previous stream, but yeah, Florida isn't New Vegas. Making sure I'm not going to crash into someone here. Okay. Yeah, Florida, it's just, I wish that, I guess I could say, I wish I would have lived in Florida 50 years ago, when it was like, 1/3 the population, if that, and a lot of parts of Florida were still like intact from mass development. And I don't think maybe California or Texas is experienced this. I'm sure it is as well, but it's very hard to see things that you used to see as like, country as they've been flooding. Yeah, I've heard about that mass migration from California to Texas. I know some people do it for like, obviously financial reasons. It's a lot cheaper to live in Texas than California, and like political reasons. Just there's a little bit more freedoms you get in Texas than in California. And same goes for Florida. So Florida usually gets the retirees and people who want to move south from the Northeast, as well as all the way to, I've seen plates from Minnesota and Wisconsin here a lot, Illinois. It seems like if you go any further west, people tend to head south to Texas. So people from like the Dakotas or Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, they all head south to Texas, maybe Colorado. Actually, they probably would head to Arizona, but it depends on what you're looking for. Arizona is very hot as well. I've been there once in November. It was pretty, pretty rough. In Florida, the summers in Florida, they can be pretty tough. If you don't like 90 plus degrees every day, then you're in torrential rains, then you are it's going to be a hard go. But most people that live in Florida these days don't spend time outside in the summer, and I think it's nice to, as long as you're not in the brutal full sun. But not every place in Florida has these nice oak canopies. That's more of a North Florida thing. In South Florida, it's more clear cut, and our issues with red tide, our issues with like these rising house prices, which really don't have they're not going on a whole lot of logic, in my opinion. But I don't want to get on a lot of opinionated stuff. I'd rather stick with Palms. But I consider the idea of moving because of certain reasons. But yeah, this area right here is actually, it's really interesting. So we're about 10 miles away from where coconuts kind of grow everywhere, but in this stretch of 41, the road I'm on between Northport and Port Charlotte, I've seen queen palms burned, which means it got down to like 22 here. So this is like a really cold area, although as you can see, there's not many businesses, but it's interesting how that can happen. Oh, thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it. I should take people up on offers like that. I should travel a bit more than I do. I don't know why I haven't traveled as much lately. Part of it, I guess, is just I used to love to drive everywhere. I would drive when I was 16 from Eastern Long Island to Richmond, Virginia to see friends for the weekend, then drive back. And we're talking like, this is in the late 90s, in an old Camaro. And had my share of breakdowns along like 95 and stuff. But now it's just like, if I have more than a couple hours drive, it it feels like forever to me when I go see my dad. I'll admit this on live YouTube. Like, I have not flown in an airplane since 1999. I had a very bad experience with a two bitchin' Camaro. Yeah, it was a '83. It was red. It was an '83 Camaro with the Iron Duke. It was a 4-cylinder engine, 4-speed, 4-cylinder, 2.5 liter. I would be shocked if it put out 100 horsepower, but it did me very well. I mean, it got me to I probably put like 10,000 miles on it in a year, which is not a lot. But then again, I wasn't driving. I mean, I was a high school student, so yeah, it was cool. The suspension. I had two heavyset friends, guys that were about my weight right now. That would ride in the back, and the suspension would drag on the road. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it was nice. The clutch eventually blew out, so, and I just gave it away. So now we're in Port Charlotte here, and again, these towns, like, you can kind of see that I'm not driving through any one downtown. I'm just kind of driving through strip malls. And that's kind of what the essence of these towns are. I imagine these people are all shopping. And let's see, I gotta kind of take my pick here with this. Is more just like 3 lanes of people going different speeds at different times, and it can be a little bit like, I have a guy tailgating me right now, so that's probably not good for him, but and people in Florida, they have really bad road rage. I thought I was up to get upset when I drove, but it's just, anyway, you guys don't care about what's going on behind me. If the guy's going to maybe the guy just thinks it's a safe distance to travel, like 20 feet right behind my bumper, but getting to be able to come down here and enjoy what Florida is, and going to the towns that are still old Florida have, like, that essence you see, like, in those 20th century. Yeah, witnesses here. I should turn the camera around. This guy is not backing off of me either. You couldn't even see it because he's so close that. Sorry, I'm just focusing on you guys might witness me not being a nice person. I'm just gonna give you guys a forewarning there. I'm gonna get over. So maybe he really wants. Oh, he just really needed to get into that left turn lane. I mean, this person was like literally right on my behind for like a mile, like dangerously behind me, and just had to get to this. Everyone is in a hurry to go nowhere, so. Oh. I should have sent me some coupons for bells. Sandals. One thing that's open till 10 p.m. it says. Okay. I wanted to get a new pair of sandals because I wear nothing but sandals, and it's kind of like my shoes, of Florida. So I'm sure a lot of you guys can associate with that. I always found it annoying when I couldn't wear sandals outside wherever I lived, so, but my feet have definitely taken a beating because of it, but, let's see here. Oh, this is not good. This looks like the road is closed. Oh, no. Please tell me this isn't true. I'm just gonna actually get off. I know where I am right now. I'm just gonna, if you guys can see that, but that is not something I want to be a part of. I mean, I hope everyone's okay if that's an accident, but I am going to try and find my way around it. Everyone is driving. Maybe this was a bad idea. Now we're just on an adventure here. I just had this feeling that I am not going to be able to get around that, and I actually don't know how to get around that. Oh, we're here. Okay. know this place. I'm going to see what I can do about getting Earth Origins. I had a friend who worked here after he lost a very well-paying job, and it was a very overpriced organic market. It was very weird to see. I guess traffic is moving here. This is not going to help me out. Let's see how far I can drive. I might be able to get past it. I don't know. It's unlikely. Just keep on going. I've got four-wheel drive. Wondering just how far you can drive through these parking lots. I might get really lucky here. Let's put the brights on. Got half a tank of gas. Wearing sunglasses. And it's dark. Okay, I cannot turn in there. I'm just looking for a place I can cut through. I'm literally just cutting through like parking lots. Oh, here we go. Neighborhood Walmart. This has to be like a place I can get out and turn. I'm like literally just. I will sometimes just find my own way through stuff. It doesn't necessarily through a road. So if something is backed up, I just tend to get a little bit. Can I turn? No, I cannot turn left there. Okay. Let's see. The bird fronds on. Yeah, bird fronds tend to not. Let me get off. Let me get back on the main road, and I'll get to that. I'm really bad at. Here we go. Looks like a few people did what I did. I got really lucky there because usually you can't do stuff like this without getting stuck in a parking lot. Anyway, burn fronds. If you get frond burn, they actually act as because the frond will rarely. Sometimes they won't burn completely, and that part will still be green. That green part should still, depending on where it is, should still help the plant out in photosynthesizing, and also it can insulate it. So unless you see any fungus forming, then I think that you should keep that frond. Sorry, just checking the heat on the phone here. So, I gotta figure out if I can extend this cable out. So here we go. I can keep it plugged in. That way I don't run out of battery. Let's do this for a stoplight. Nice. Okie doke. So I managed to. I don't know what happened back there. It didn't look like there was a bad accident. It looked like something happened. But, yeah, the burn fronds. I've had some tropicals burn, some rare stuff that I want to try and keep alive, and I would just keep. I wouldn't cut anything off until spring. It allows. The more leaves you have on a palm, the faster new leaves will grow. So when you see people carrot top plants, they're doing it for one of two reasons. One, they're just not knowledgeable enough to know that will actually slow a plant's growth down. Or two, they actually want to slow the plant's growth down. Like some palmettos, some people just don't want to get a trimming more than once a year. So they ask people to cut off everything but like 3 leaves. So that's kind of the gist of that. Let me see if. Okay, so queen palms being burned. If Adenidia is brought, so it's actually about Adenidias. Now, Adenidia is a little bit different because it is crown shafted. The crown is damaged, and if the crown is damaged, crown shafted palms can be more susceptible to fungus during a freeze event if it does get burned. So the growth in there is more tender because the crown is actually alive. The difference between a crown shafted and non-crown shafted palm is a crown shafted palm. The crown tissue around the crown is still live and susceptible, vulnerable to fungus. Where in a non-crown shafted palm, you have just a woody trunk. So in that case, I might trim them off, especially if you can see that there's damage on the crown itself. Like I had the problem with one time. I'll give you an example. I had a spindle in a really bad freeze. The whole thing fried. I started to see that there was fungus forming, so I actually took a Sawzall and sawed off the top of the crown to the point where I figured it would. I probably could have made that light. Poor Charlotte is the worst place to drive because their lights aren't synced. Anyway, I cut it down to where the fungal issue was like stopping, and it grew. I wish I had the pictures of that. My hard drive broke, and I lost a lot of pictures. But anyway, on crown shafted palms, I would cut any tissue off that looks like it's going to be burnt is one thing, but if it looks fungal, then definitely cut it off. So yeah, the hurricane cuts, especially on like crown shafted palms, it just doesn't make any sense. On plants that commercially speaking, like if you see plants in a mall parking lot, like a bunch of queens or a bunch of palmettos, a lot of times they'll do it for insurance purposes, especially coconuts. They'll trim all the coconuts off, which really sucks because it's really hard to find coconuts in a lot of coconut prone areas. So because they're considered liabilities. If one falls on someone's car, they can sue. My friend actually had this is in the around 2002. We drove down to Miami he was from Miami, Miami Lakes. He was one of my roommates in college. We drove from Connecticut to Miami in about 24 hours, and he came home and the coconut in his yard had fallen and he had a Jetta VR6, which he was very proud of, and it dented like the behind the C-pillar, which you can't really take out without like doing a lot of work to. So oh well. But that's personally I would never trim up coconuts because that's just the way. I don't think that trimming fruit off a tree, it depends. For example, the queen palm I have in my front yard right now, there's a watcher of the vlog that would love for me to make a second video on it, and I'd love to do it, but right now there's so many mosquitoes and flies around the drop seed of it that I just want to let the seed kind of dry out or get kind of like eaten by the bugs and let it go away, and then kind of clean it up and do a vlog. So obviously there's a million other queen palms I can do, but another thing I'm going to do, and remind me of this in my next vlog if I have not already done it by then, but I'm going to do a plant seed giveaway, a palm seed giveaway again, and I have a lot more seed to give away this time because basically the business that I started was based off of seeds. So I'm sitting here keeping pace with the Charlotte County Sheriff. I'm sure that they're very excited about that. So I have a lot more cold hardy stuff. Part of why I'm driving home is to make sure a couple packages are secured on the premises, because I got stuff that probably came in today. But let's see here. I feel bad I didn't do this during the day, but one other thing you guys probably, well, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but I have a very weird sleeping schedule where I get up really early, work for 6 or 7 hours, I'll lay down, take a nap, get up again, maybe do a little more work, then I actually stay up fairly late. And so that's why you won't see me doing anything like actually in the afternoon, unless it's like really late in the afternoon. It sounds really lazy of me, but I've actually found out you tend to be more awake more often than having to go through like those 2 or 3 o'clock blues of getting through the day. I've been doing it for about 10 years. It does make it hard when you go and you spend time with like normal people that have a normal sleep schedule, but not many people would describe me as normal. So you have a mule Queen Pindo hybrid, and it's been 2.5 years. juvenile. Uh, the thing about mule palms is that their growth patterns are very odd and can be like mechanically like very interesting. I don't know how to best explain it, but they seem to suffer from a multitude of disease because of their genetic. Hybrids have what they call hybrid vigor, but their ability to resist diseases tends to be very low. They are more susceptible to fungus, Ganoderma, and other viruses. As far as smaller leaves on a more mature plant, hopefully it'll just grow through that. You may want to examine the crown for any like damage, whether it be insect or fungal. So it could. I would try to fertilize it in the growing season. It might be able to just kind of like grow through that. A lot of the Syagrass, a lot of the queens and pindos, if you just boost, like I said, you water them and fertilize them, they tend to grow through funky spurts like that. That might be also a manganese deficiency or a boron deficiency. And I haven't gone over boron and iron deficiencies really very much. I probably should. It's hard to find. Only certain palms suffer from the boron issue, like Bismarckias do down here. And it's actually pretty simple. You just pour borax on it. But iron is a little bit more tricky because you got to figure out how it wants to take in the iron. So we were going over the bridge, the Peace River Bridge between Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda. I would say we go from like a marginal zone 10 to a definite zone 10. I would say Punta Gorda is a 10B actually. Downtown is. So welcome to the new viewers that see there's been a few more come on in the few past 10 minutes or so. This is a cool bridge. It's great for fishing if you like fishing. Punta Gorda is really a cool town. It's one of those towns that really hasn't gotten affected much by a lot of the growth in Florida in the past 20 years. It got slammed by Hurricane Charlie and they rebuilt it pretty well. That's why you see a lot of what I call the new palms. So in my last vlog I was mentioning this new versus old palms. So in the 20th century, Florida kind of had there's kind of a not a monopoly, but an oligarchy of palms. So let's get a vape in here real quick while So you sort of have this oligarchy, and you have about 6 to 8 species of palms that would be grown. You're looking at Arecas, Queens, Coconuts, Royals, some of the bamboo palm, Camanduria safritzii, and solitaire palm, Techosperma elegans. Some of this is called Alexander, but I like just using Techosperma because it's that way there's no mistaking. And then in the 20th century, Bismarck's fox. I'm sorry, 21st century. Oh yeah, I'll get on the Jubea thing. Just let me finish this real quick. So the 21st century, the foxtails, Bismarckias, triangles, bottles, they all came into play. So sometimes when you see those palms planted, it's often the sign of a newer development, a newer community, newer house built. And Hurricane Charlie, they basically decided, okay, we're going to plant all these new palms. They planted foxtails, new royals, a lot of coconuts, and it looks great. They planted some Washingtonias too, which obviously they were just trying to balance their budget because there's no palm cheaper than a Washingtonia when it comes to field-grown plants at $5 a foot. So you can get a 20-foot Washingtonia for $100. Comparatively speaking, a lot of the palms that I grow run between $100 to $250 a foot. So give you an idea of the difference. But anyway, so as we were mentioning, the growing Jubea. So as far as growing Jubea in Florida, I really think it comes down to the fact that it's just too hot and humid at night in the summertime in Florida. Now, I have some friends that swear that it's because most jubeias that are planted in Florida are grown in a climate that is drier and therefore are used to that climate and then don't like ours. I really think that although that may play some of a part, that in the end there was a jubeia in Orlando, but it died, I don't know, 10 years ago. It was like 40 years old too. There's a butea across the jubeia in Port Charlotte. Actually, I just found it in 2004, and then Hurricane Charlie wiped it out, unfortunately. But for as far as growing jubeias well, making them look nice, I think that humidity issue, this doesn't have the genetics to deal with fungal issues that may come about from like hot, wet nights. Because, for example, I don't know, I'm pretty sure in Chile and I know in LA, it's very hot by summers with some sometimes a little bit chilly, but they like that weather, and I know that they will grow in Dallas. I think just Dallas is a humid place, but in the summertime it can still get a little bit like cool. When I say cool, I mean below 70. It can happen where here it's like unheard of to get below 70 for like 5 months of the year, even at night. I don't remember recording a temperature below 70 that entire, from basically late May to early October. So, I'm sure that Verizon is loving me streaming live off my own. I guess this is what I use my data for. Looking forward to. Sorry about at nighttime. It's kind of hard to, when the lights tend to blur a lot of the things you can normally see without. Which guy's being unstoppable? Oh, what's going on? Sorry, I gotta. Are you talking about the jubeias being unstoppable? I mean, they're pretty cool plants. I've actually never seen a mature one in person because I've never. Yeah, they're tough. The other plants we can't really grow here, though. I've never really tried it. Just people that they've tried it, and I don't really want to. They're not cheap. Is Parajubaea. Now, Jubaeopsis is another plant which I love. I love Jubaeopsis. It will actually grow here. It's not like it doesn't thrive here, but it's basically like a clumping coconut. But it can also take like mid to low 20s. It's the only palm that's endemic to South Africa. I'd love to do a vlog on one. The problem is the best mature specimen I've ever seen in St. Petersburg died about 8 years ago from Ganoderma, which a lot of things die from Ganoderma at this one arboretum. So, unfortunately, that is a plant that would be hard to replace, especially of that size. And if you guys want a nice free place to see a lot of cool, rare palms, I mean, not like extremely rare, but pretty rare, Gazella Copsic Arboretum in St. Pete. It's just north of downtown. It's free. It's just a park. It's got a field and it has a walk-through area. They have a lot of cool palms there, and St. Pete has a nice mild climate for a lot of that stuff. So, all right, should I take Burton Store Road or 41? I think I'll take Burton Store. Nah, I'll take 41. Actually, you know what? There's not much for you guys to see on 41, so with that in mind, I shall take Burton Store. Right. Man, talking a lot like this makes your mouth dry, and Diet Dr. Pepper is not helping that either. But right here kind of is where the end of that microclimate in Punta Gorda ends and actually becomes a cold spot, because but in Florida, all the older towns were built on high land, and so the low land is where the cold tends to drift down into the water, and so this is one of those areas. But You know, if if the county will let someone build on land, they will build on it, whichever way they need to. It's unfortunate. I have friends with nice houses in very low-lying areas in the summertime. It's like driving through a stream for like a half mile, and it's not fresh water, so the cars are getting all coated with salt on the underside. So I just find that a lot of these places were not really meant for human habitation. But this road is kind of like an alternative to some of the major roads, but it goes along the coast. We're about a mile from the Charlotte Harbor, and yeah, it's it's not as built up. This area is kind of known as, it's called Bird Store, because when back in the 30s, I think, there was a lot of fish canneries around here, and there's a store. I don't know if it had anything to do with the fish canneries or whatever. And someone came into the harbor one day, or one evening, or one day, whatever it may be, and all the store was burned to the ground. So they named the area Burnt Store. So this is Burnt Store Road. Yeah, where's everybody from? That is a good question. Although there is only 3 other people at the moment in the chat. I was hoping Bobby, guy that posts on here and on my business page and stuff, he's done a few videos himself on his Facebook page. He brought in a lot of guys from Atlanta. I can imagine there's a lot going on besides, but for those of you who don't, want to be entertained, then, I'm here. Some people just like to watch other people drive, But I've got about another 20-25 minutes until I'm at my house. Although it's a little bit cooler here, it's actually a little bit easier to get land and so close to the water in this area because it's not built up. But I'm not hoping it gets built up. I'm just saying that there's a lot of open land here, which is nice. Cape Coral, that's one place that's really I first visited Cape Coral in maybe 2005, and now 13 years later it is like almost doubled in size, and it's amazing what people can do. She's in the desert plants. Any uncommon plants you know about for 8B for desert plants? Yes, I do know. I don't know. I can name you some succulents that there's Haworthias. So Haworthia. These are all from like South Africa, and they look kind of like, they're very small for the most part. There's also Kalanchoe, Kalanchoe, I think is how it's pronounced. There's is it Gustavias? I think is another, or Guzmania. One of those are a bromeliad. Gasterias, that's what it is. Gasterias. Those the other two I mentioned are bromeliads. But Gasterias, Haworthias, some Adenias, which are the desert rose, are very cold hardy. Just not the. I don't know if Adenia obesum, which is the desert rose, the common one, how cold hardy that is. So, those are all pretty neat. Some are really expensive. Some of them look like green rocks, But there's some really cool, like ancient looking succulents from like South Africa. As far as like the New World stuff, a lot of the opuntias, which are like the beaver tail cactus. There's a lot of varieties of that. A lot of agaves are really cold hardy. There's some from Texas that do really well in North Mexico. Agaves grow actually, I think, all the way into Utah, or maybe in a lot of yuccas, Yucca rostrata, Dasylierian wheeleri. I wish I could. DASY. God, I don't know how to spell the rest of it. That's DSYILERION, something close to that. But I had a lot of friends that, grew those. I had a friend who had a beautiful Dasylierian in St. Pete. I mean, it was an awesome plant. I could see it. If it weren't so spiny, it would be a better landscape plant for Florida. But Yucca rostrata for sure. So this is, if you guys watch some of my videos about the quote, the island, yeah, so obviously, there are so many agaves that some are cold sensitive, don't get me wrong, but some are sorry, I thought I was passing a police vehicle. But yes, some grow all the way up into Utah. Like there's a couple that we grow down here because like they're all soft. Because when they get really big, they can be pretty dangerous. So just the dwarf ones tend to be more popular, unless you're doing like big landscaping around places that they're nice because you don't need to water them. So, but wondering how hot this thing's got. Well, it's pretty warm. Anyway, I feel this might have run its course. Why don't I... Oh. Orans or Fort Worth? No, but I'll look him up. I'm sure there's a number of palm nurseries or at least nurseries that offer a lot of big palms in Dallas. A lot of Trachycarpus and Butias and maybe Washingtonias. Because... why not? And with the ever-growing population in Texas, I could see that being... I kind of wanted to get into that. Like if I were to live in, say, Atlanta or Dallas or Houston, although just those cities are so large. I don't know. Large cities just... I don't do that anymore. I like smaller towns. I guess if there's less viewers, it's more one-on-one discussion. Get some free advice there. There's not a lot of messages going through, so. So, I just crossed into Lee County now. Yeah, our Birdstorm Marina. Sad thing is I gotta drive 50 miles and really do about 15 minutes of checking, then turn back around. I mean, I don't have to turn back around, but I don't really just want to sit at home with absolutely no family around. So I realize that I actually still have probably at least another 15 minutes. I think I said like 20, 25 like 15 minutes ago, but do I sell mature palms. I don't sell them personally. Usually if someone wants a mature plant, I kind of direct them towards, I will broker mature plants. So, mailable palms. Yeah, I mean, I sell mailable. I mean, it depends on what I'm growing, but for the most part, like I have, like mature palms really can't be mailed; they have to be delivered. There's very few mature palms that can. I mean, there's a few, but they're mostly tropical understory plants. But if a plant can, usually a plant can fit in a 7 gallons and under, I tend to be able to mail, depending on the palm. Some palms have root systems that just can't be mailed because they can't hold properly when they're bare rooted. And I tend to just send them bare root unless they absolutely cannot be sent bare root. So, the largest palm I've ever sent was probably in a box, was about 5 feet tall by 1.5 feet wide, and it cost a lot of money to send, but the person really wanted it, and so I did it. But most of this, usually after 3 gallon sizes, I tend not to mail. I do a lot of seedling mailing, and getting plants off the ground from seed, and then I either sell them wholesale. That's a good chunk of my business is selling wholesale to a lot of growers And I mean, of more uncommon plants, I don't grow, the stuff you can find at Home Depot because I would never be able to make enough of I'm not sure what's going on here, but all right. This is kind of a no man's land. I think it's technically Cape Coral, but it's not incorporated Cape Coral. I don't know what people just call this area Burnt Store. Then up here you'll see a welcome to Cape Coral sign. So I got a thumbs up. Well, thank you for I realize it's dinner time for a lot of people. A lot of people are, traveling. They're either shopping Friday night with the family. So I did not spend I spent Thanksgiving with my mother and my sister. My mother, I think I mentioned, she's in a long-term care facility, and she came for the day to the house, and we had dinner. But my girlfriend, yeah, definitely, Tyler, nice talking with you. So I might have to close this down anyway because I feel I may not have any more viewers. I might come back on. Who knows? It's not like I'm doing a whole lot else, just driving on the road. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out, and maybe I'll see you guys a little bit later. So until then, enjoy your evening, and I will see you guys soon. Alrighty.